Good evening. How are you?
You're right
Good.
on time.
Thank you. Very glad you're here.
Good to see you.
I'd like to get you out of that area.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you guys about it. Ready? Good evening. It's Tuesday, November 7th, and this is the City Council meeting for the closed session, opening closed session. We have two items to be discussed, and I'll go ahead and call roll call first. Melissa?
Councilmember Bausch.
Here?
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Roden.
Here.
Councilmember Strong.
Here.
Mayor Hammond.
Here. So we have two items closed session tonight. Our attorney will go ahead and give us the information what we have to discuss. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going into closed session on two items, a conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 for one case. It's the City of Camden et al. Versus 3M Company. And then we're going in under the same section of pending litigation for a second case, which is aqueous film forming foam product liability litigation, MDL number 218 MN-2873.
Very good. Thank you. We'll then open this up to any public comment. Seeing nobody in the room. Melissa, do we have anybody online?
No, sir.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and adjourn to closed session and report out when we come return. Welcome, everybody, to the City Council meeting for November 7th, 2023. We had a closed session, and in the beginning, we'll go ahead and have our city clerk read the hybrid meeting information, please.
The city's return to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for a deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely, residents can live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube and call 805-865-7276 to provide public comment via phone. The phone line will open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity to comment on each item heard by the council. Written public comment can be submitted via email to cityclerk@prcity.com prior to 12 noon on the day of the council meeting to be posted as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. City council meetings will be live streamed during the meeting and also available to play later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube.
All right, thank you, Melissa. We'll go ahead and if we would all stand then for the Pledge of Allegiance and also remain standing for the invocation led by Pat Sheehan. Mayor Pro Tem Gregory, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holy Father, may your kingdom come, may your will be done here in Paso Robles in this evening as it is in heaven. We thank you for our elected leaders, Mayor Hammond, councilpersons Gregory, Bosch, Strong, and Roden. Fill them with the spirit of wisdom and revelation in every decision they make tonight. Father, bless and protect and be with our police and emergency services who serve and protect us. May your grace be upon our city staff to give them what they need to manage the affairs of our city well. And Lord, we thank you for your great love and many blessings you poured out on Paso Robles. And I would also like to ask that you would bring peace to Jerusalem and peace to Israel. We ask all of this in the precious name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Pat. City Clerk, would we call the roll call, please?
Councilmember Bausch,
Here.
Councilmember Gregory,
Here.
Councilmember Roden,
Here.
Councilmember Strong,
Here.
Mayor Hammond.
Here. We'll go ahead and move the staff introduction, starting on my right.
Melissa Boyer, City Clerk, joined by Randall Wright, IT Technician, and Shauna Howenstein, Civic Engagement Coordinator.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Christopher Lucco, Utilities Director.
Angelica Fortin, Community Services Director. Didas Esperanza, Capital Projects Engineer. Frida Berman, Public Works Director.
Dwayne Brown, Maintenance Services Superintendent. Bruce Hewell, Assistant. David Ricardo, Public Works Operations. Kevin Long, Assistant Capital Projects. David York, Leachy. Frank Harris, Deputy Fire Chief. Sarah Shannon, Airport Manager. David City Engineer, Ryan Martin. Tom Swannell, Fire Chief.
Ty Lewis, City Manager.
Elizabeth Hall, City Attorney.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, then we'll have a report out of closed session. Our legal counsel, Elizabeth Hall, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We went into closed session on two items. The first was conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation. The case is City of Camden et al. Versus 3M Company. And then the second case was pending litigation in Ray Aqueous Film Forming Foams product liability litigation. And there was no reportable action on either item.
Very good. All right. Next, we'll go ahead and get into the presentations. We have three, actually, four total, but three that I'm going to be doing. First one is going to be the National Hospice Month Proclamation. Then we have National Apprenticeship Week of Proclamation. And finally, the Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Day Proclamation. So we'll start with the representative for National Hospice, and I believe that is going to be Melissa Papini. Melissa, join us. All right. National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, November 2023. Whereas hospice and palliative care empower people facing a serious life-limiting illness to live as fully as possible, ensuring people's dignity and choice of quality of life. Whereas the hospice model involves the interdisciplinary team-oriented approach to treatment, including expert medical care, quality symptom control, comprehensive pain management as a foundation of care. Whereas, beyond providing physical treatment, hospice attends to the patient's emotional, spiritual, and family needs and provides family services with respite care and bereavement counseling. And whereas, in an increasingly fragmented and broken healthcare system, hospice is one of the few sectors that demonstrates how healthcare can and should work at its best for the patient. And whereas a growing body of peer-reviewed research indicates that timely access to hospice and palliative care can decrease hospitalizations and emergency room visits and increase quality of life for patients and family caregivers. And whereas every year more than 1.56 million Americans living with life-limiting illness and their families receive care from the nation's hospice programs in communities throughout the United States. And whereas more than 355,000 trained volunteers contribute 16 million hours of service to hospice programs annually in the U.S. And whereas Central Coast Hospice, Dignity Health Hospice of San Luis Obispo County, and Wilshire Hospice provide hospice care and bereavement counseling, respectively, to individuals within the county of San Luis Obispo. Whereas hospice and palliative care organizations are advocates and educators about advanced care planning and that help individuals make decisions about their care that they want. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, John Hammond, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2023 as National Hospice and Palliative Care Month and encourage citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at the end of life and to observe this month with appropriate activities and programs. Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, City of Paso Robles City Council, for proclaiming November Hospice and Palliative Care Month. My name is Melissa La Pena. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Hospice of San Luis Obispo County. In SLO County, we are fortunate enough to have 4 hospices, 3 of which are medical and 1 non-medical volunteer hospice. All of us help those at their end of life, their families, and the bereaved. Medical hospice is for terminal patients who have less than 6 months to live and have stopped curative treatment. The patient has chosen palliative or comfort care in their home or in a facility. These medical hospice services are covered by insurance, including Medicare. A non-medical volunteer hospice, such as Hospice SLO County, can begin supporting clients long before their illnesses become terminal, because we do not charge fees or bill insurance. As a non-medical volunteer hospice, we are not bound by insurance restrictions and therefore have more flexibility of when and how we can assist clients and their families. For example, we can support a client with dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, cancer, and other illnesses for years. The client is matched to one of our trained volunteers who step in and give caregivers much needed breaks. As you can imagine, caring for someone with a long-term illness will take a toll. And without the ability for respite and personal care, older adults aged 66 to 96 caring for a spouse will have a higher risk of death than non-caregivers of the same age. With the ongoing flexibility of our program, our trained volunteers give caregivers the time to get out of the house and go to doctor appointments and take care of their own health. And when the time comes for medical hospice to step in, we can educate our clients and work with those medical hospices in our area to make a smooth transition. Hospice SLO County is also a community grief center. We support grieving residents regardless of when, how, or where their loved one has died, and whether or not they've been a client of ours. Our grief support offerings include individual, family counseling, support groups, and a community grief response, where a counseling team will go to a place of business to facilitate debriefings and assistance to organizations or groups who have lost a coworker or member. Hospice of SLO County is one of 17 non-medical hospices left in the country. We are proud to have been serving our community since 1977, and I thank you again for this proclamation and giving me time to speak.
And next, we will have National Apprenticeship to come up by Dawn Bollinger. Is she here? Yeah, come on over. Why don't you give your name?
David Baldwin, I'm the business manager for the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters.
Yeah, David, okay. Why don't you go ahead and hold the proclamation for you. All right, National Apprenticeship Week 2023, November 13th through the 19th. Whereas the Workforce Development Board of San Luis Obispo County and San Luis Obispo County Office of Education, construction trades unions in San Luis Obispo County, including the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 639, and Pipe Trades UL Local 403, have partnered to extend apprenticeship opportunities and head of household jobs in the construction trades of San Luis Obispo County. Whereas the advancement of well-being of the city of Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo County, State of California, and the United States depends upon continued development of a skilled and trained workforce in the building construction trades, and whereas an ever-growing number of job creators and career seekers are discovering the benefits of apprenticeship unique's learn while you earn model. Whereas the city of Paso Robles recognizes the robust apprenticeship programs provide tangible value to both job creators and apprentices, with the potential to increase productivity, improve diversity and inclusion, include recruitment and training costs, while providing a pathway to prosperous careers for job seekers. Whereas the city of Paso Robles National Apprenticeship Week, which is celebrating its 8th anniversary of raising awareness to its vital role in apprenticeships, provide in creating a quality and highly skilled workforce in the building and construction trades in the city of Paso Robles and the county of San Luis Obispo and across our nation. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, John Hammond, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire city council, do hereby proclaim November 13th through 19th, 2023 to be National Apprenticeship Week in the city of Paso Robles.
Hi, I'm David Baldwin. I'm the business manager for the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union here in San Luis Obispo County. These apprenticeship programs that the city so graciously is recognizing here are really important to the overall health of our community in that they create access way to these middle wage jobs that not only keeps our young folks here in the county with gainful employment, but also make sure that our tax dollars are spent local, that we have a skilled workforce for tomorrow, and that our schools, our government buildings, our houses, our commercial buildings, that they're built with local workers that are trained in a formal apprenticeship training program. We're really grateful to the city, and I thank you for the recognition. And we do have an event coming up on the 17th. I just want to mention real quick in recognition of National Apprenticeship Week. It'll be at 3710 Broad Street in San Luis Obispo, which is the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Training Hall. And we'll have a career fair type setup there with a number of trade apprenticeship programs there, and all kinds of literature and information, demonstrations, as well as a forum and discussion about apprenticeship. So thank you very much, Mayor.
All right, appreciate it. And next, we have law enforcement records and support personnel. We have Chief Nord and Kate McKinley coming up. Chief. Kate, why don't you hang on to this for me, please? Let's get over you guys' name again. You're
Alti?
Aussie? Kate?
Kate.
Chief?
Damien.
Everybody knows everybody. Okay, Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Day, November 14th, 2023. Whereas the Paso Robles Police Department and all the law enforcement agencies throughout the state depend upon law enforcement records and support personnel to provide them with vital services. Whereas the Paso Robles Police Department Records Bureau and support personnel are crucial to helping law enforcement agencies identify, pursue, and capture and process suspected lawbreakers. And whereas these professionals continue to use their expertise and experience to assist in tracking felons, maintaining criminal statistics, and improving apprehensive strategies. And whereas the Paso Robles Police Department Records Bureau staff entering thousands of documents into the records management system, process multiple subpoenas as court liaison, and provided live scan services to hundreds of citizens. And whereas it is important to recognize California's law enforcement records and support personnel for their valuable contributions to our law enforcement system, and whereas the State Executive Board of California Law Enforcement Association's Record Supervisors has proclaimed November 14th, 2023 as Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Day. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, John Hammond, with the authority vested in me as mayor and speaking on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim November 14th as Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Day in the City of Paso Robles, and extend our gratitude to the Paso Robles Police Department Records Bureau staff and support personnel for their dedicated service to our community, their diligence, and their commitment to keeping our citizens and our city safe. Thank you very much.
Kate, you want to talk?
You can go first.
We just want to say thank you. You know, as our support staff, you are often the first face that people see when they come into our department. You leave a lasting impression upon them. Without you, it makes our job so much harder as cops. We wouldn't be able to do our job without you. So we just want to say thank you very much.
In records as well as dispatch, so we have a new supervisor, Kate, who's in charge of dispatch and records now. Alt is our newest records employee. But again, for our organization, they're like the pulse of the organization because they do so much that doesn't get recognized. But without them, it would come to a halt like immediately. So again, they don't get recognized enough. That's a huge thing for us. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, moving on, presentations. Item 4, Capital Projects Report, Frida Berman, Public Works Director, and Ditas Esperanza. Ditas, you're first.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is our monthly report on the public works projects in the city of Paso Robles. I will start with the capital improvement projects that are currently under construction. The first one is the utility improvements on 17th Street from Chestnut to Spring. As you know, before we can repair that road surface, we need to do the pipelines, and we are just finishing. We finished the sewer, and tomorrow night we will do our last tie-in at Vine Street. And this is just some of the daytime work that we've done for the tie-ins. Tomorrow we're doing the tie-in at nighttime because we don't want the businesses to be out of water. So after we're done with all the tie-ins, we will then put a more robust just restoration of the trench, and then we will gear up to do the road repair from 17th, from Chestnut to Spring Street. Likely we will start sometime in spring 2024 when the school's out in session, and then we have to do many curb ramps to current ADA standards, some dilapidated curbs and gutters, and some missing sidewalks, and then we will do the road repairs. Right Way is also in the same situation. We're finishing up with the pipelines. These are photos of us taking sewer tests to make sure that the contractor installed the sewers appropriately. Oops. And so once that's all done, we will do curbs and gutters and sidewalks, and then finally paving of Right Way. We do have some projects under planning stage. We had an open house for the Union Road overcrossing. Over 30 people attended. This is the footprint of that project. We put some signs out at the site. Here's some photos of the public hearing. This is what it's going to look like for the Alt 1. And the good news is that Caltrans has decided that they would like to assist us in sponsoring to get a construction grant in the $60-some million range to do this first phase. And this is what a visual simulation would look like of the overcrossing of Union Road over Highway 46. And then finally, we are getting ready to do the Creston Road project, phase 1 from South River to south of Orchard. If you recall, in June, we went out to bid. Unfortunately, we did not receive any bids because the contractors were really busy. They recommended that we rebid later this year, which we did. And then we did receive 4 bids, and the City Council awarded the project to Granite Construction at the October meeting. Right now, the city attorney is going through the documents, making sure that they submit the right documents. And once that's done, then we will begin construction. Most likely, the first part of the project, again, is the undergrounds. We have sewer, some fiber optic we need to do, and then curbs and gutters and sidewalks, and then finally the paving. We are putting in the traffic signal at Walnut and Bolin. We're doing enhancements of pedestrians at Orchard, Ivy, and Trigo. And then, of course, we will be rehabbing the pavement surfaces. Phase 2 will come at the heels of that. We're just designing that right now. I'll talk more about phase 2 as we approach that time. So just as a reminder, this is the cross-section that the City Council adopted for Creston Road, the signal at Walnut and Bolin, and this is an enhancement of pedestrian. This one is at Orchard, but we will have one at Ivy and Trigo as well. That concludes my part. If you have any questions to me, I'll be happy to answer it before I turn it over to Dave Licaro.
Any questions from Detus?
Yes,
Christopher?
yes, please. Detus, you mentioned on the Creston Road project, installation of fiber optics. Are we doing the actual fiber optics or just the conduit for fiber?
I'm sorry, yes, we're just doing the conduits for future fiber optics.
Very good, thank you.
I just want to give a shout out to staff on that overpass. That was a great win for Paso Robles, nailing that from the state. I mean, I thought that would take years and years, but you guys did an excellent job in getting confirmation that we're going to get some support from the state. Ty, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, I want to temper that a little bit. We've definitely got Caltrans on board to help us co-sponsor the project. We still have several rounds of screening to go through to make sure that we get through the process, but we're working diligently. We now have an active partner that's helping us, so I think our chances are better than they've ever been to receive funding for that project, so
That's
we're excited.
Key point to our spaceport effort out there at the airport. Without that, it's not going to fly. So, all right. That's it for Detus then?
Okay, I'll turn it over to Dave Lacaro.
Very good. Thank you, Dave.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. David Lacaro, Public Works. This is just a one slide and then off. But this is more of a continuation. Just wanted to give you an update on what's going on with the Niblick Road corridor signal upgrades. We started this in early September. I gave you folks an update of the hardware installation that we did. We completed all that September 11th. So just as a reminder, we did back plates, retroflective yellow borders. We increased the sizing of the lights from an 8-inch to 12 inches LED bulbs. And that goes to 8 different intersections down Niblick Road. So we finished that in early September. Next step was to get the controllers in. That basically controls the signals and phasings of the lights and turn lanes. That was completed and installed on September 25th. Going along, coinciding with that, our contractors, Bear Electric Solutions, synchronized all of these controllers using basically traffic counts, intersection assessments, and timing recommendations from their subcontractor. They installed all that, again, as I said, on the 25th. Actually, this morning, you can actually see, oh boy, let's see if we can get this here. That very top controller there, that's the new hardware, that's a new controller that we have. That's the 270, so we're upgrading from what we had to these 270s, and this has a lot more capabilities for controlling these signal systems. This morning, I met with Bear Solutions, our city engineer and myself. There are some tweaks that are going to need to be gone. So this next phase is really trying to tweak and make sure that these signals are working efficiently and optimally so that we get less congestion through that corridor. Specifically speaking about the area by Woodland Shopping Center and South River Road. We're trying to really kind of optimize that so we get folks moving through that during peak hours. Aside from that, we continue to work on that fine tuning. If you have any other questions on that, please feel free to ask me.
Questions of David Lacaro? Chris Bausch?
Hi, Dave, thanks. Great presentation, Great update. Noticed a couple of more observations and questions. It looks like the unsignaled arterial roads, I think Cherokee, the one right, I'm drawing a blank on the name, west of the high school. There's more gap when you're trying to turn left, for example. There's more time to turn before it would take 5 minutes to wait for an appropriate gap. So thank you for that. That's a big improvement. But some of the other signalized roads taking way too long for the side roads to get a green light. Is that due to the signal or the synchronization?
It is, yeah. So we just put the new controllers in. We're actually getting our subcontractor consultants to come back and take another look at the timing with all the green light signals and yellows as well. We're talking over with my city engineer, myself, and our consultants to figure out
what's the best timing method. At this point, what we're trying to do really is give preference to the Niblick corridor as opposed to some of the side streets, as we're seeing way more traffic come down that corridor. So we're trying to balance those two. But yes, we're trying to figure out some of those nuances.
Thank you. Good progress.
This actually is in support of the development that was basically set up on the east side that we're going to be seeing in the next 10 years or so, that this kind of help was going to keep the traffic flow much faster and quicker than without it, correct?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
We only have so much right of way and we only have so much room to put cars through, but putting time sequencing through is going to help a lot on moving things. So, okay, anything more from council? No. Frida, do you have something? Thank you, David.
I'll continue the presentation, Frida Berman, Public Works Director, and starting with the great news that we got power for Fire Station 3 on October 27th, which is great news. That's the good news. The team came up with a temporary solution to get power because our automatic transfer switch is now delayed until December. So we will have to turn the power off and install that and turn the power back on. But in the meantime, all the testing and commissioning can happen, all the final work can happen. And so that's great news that we finally have power at Fire Station 3. Barney Schwartz Park Pump Track, just as a reminder, this is a $500,000 project by the lake at Barney Schwartz Park, fully funded by the Rec Foundation. Construction has started and is estimated to continue through February. We are now continue to be in the grading phase with an upper beginner track, a lower intermediate track, and 2 staging areas with shade structures. With significant rain predicted for next week and open ground, we're working closely with our stormwater folks to make sure that the site is protected during the storm and that no damage occurs. We've been talking about a shade structure and patio between the Veteran Senior Center for a long time. I'm happy to report that the design is in the final stages. And given council's input, we have made some adjustments to the design to maximize the patio size and include conduit for future electrical. So we're getting closer to construction on that project. In design, we continue again to talk about the pickleball court complex construction. The 90% plans have been returned to the architect for corrections and production of the 100% plans. We're coordinating closely with the water department. There is a well site on the pickleball site, and that causes some coordination that needs to happen before we can do anything. So we're working through that process, but things are progressing. And finally, I've mentioned previously the new courtyard right behind new Fire Station 3 on Ardmore Road. The architect is preparing the entitlements package being prepared for the Planning Commission. And most recently, we are working through the needed details of turning radiuses and how we get our largest pieces of equipment in and out of this property for not only operations, but fleet service. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
My first question real quick, put that one back up if we can. I'd like to say, Frida, in the back where the fire department have that last chunk of property there, is there any plans yet to work on the training center yet at all?
Deputy Chief Harris can most appropriately answer that, but they are in progress. They are in design.
Okay. Randy's here?
Oh, he was. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is, Randy. Well, it's going to be this training facility is going to keep, it was one of the things we get checked off on against us for our insurance because we don't have one of these. And so Randy, why don't you work?
Hi, Randy Harris, Deputy Fire Chief. Yes, we recently got a contract with a local architect who's helping us build the training tower. That would be the square there on the left of the retention basin. That tower is going to be our priority, and then we'll start designing the rest of the site with that.
Very good. It should be probably in next year, so we'll start seeing something on that probably.
I would hope even sooner than that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Randy. Okay, any other questions for Frida? Anyone from the public would like to say anything on the public works and the capital projects reports? Dale?
Dale Gustin, 630 13th Street. I am glad to see that they're finally going to synchronize the signals on Niblick Road. When the Niblick Bridge was expanded, they told us they were going to do that. Well, it was a long time ago, so I'm glad they're finally getting around to it, because that traffic during peak times is really horrendous. Also, as I've said many times, I'm still disappointed that we don't have a signal at Airport and 46 instead of the overpass.
Me too. Anyone else from the public? Okay, we'll go ahead and close that and then bring it up to the general public comments. This is the time that the public may address the City Council on items that are not on the agenda tonight. All persons need to fill out a speaker card and hand it to the clerk. Each person will have 3 minutes. So if you would, go ahead and move to the lectern. Who's first? Michael, you want to go ahead and start? Go ahead.
First of all, this does not give me any pleasure doing what I'm about to do and say. Mayor Hammond, council, and general public. This is a formal, I gave this to the police chief as a formal statement, complaint against city manager Ty Lewis. Let me explain. On November 6, 2023, I arrived at Centennial Park meeting to attend a homeless committee meeting. I was asked to attend by Mr. Ron Cuff, a member of the committee, who could not attend as he had to be in Phoenix, Arizona. I agreed to attend. Mr. Cuff also mentioned that others had attended the meeting in the past who were not on the committee. There are several email messages in my possession from Angelica 14 to Mr. Cuff, then from Mr. Lewis to Mr. Cuff, indicating I was not welcome at this public meeting. The city council members, I believe, according to Mr. Lewis, were also BCC'd in the email string. Why Mr. Lewis had a problem with me attending this public meeting, I am unsure, since other non-committee members from the public had been at prior meetings. It was made clear that I would only be there to take notes and give Mr. Cuff an idea of what occurred at this final meeting of this committee. When I arrived at the location, Ms. 14 said as I entered the room, "Mr. Rivera, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here," or something to that effect. I was, of course, surprised and made it clear to Ms. 14 this was a public meeting in a public building, and I had every right to be there. She then left the room. I then went and sat down next to the witness. I've redacted his name for his privacy. A committee member and someone I knew from a previous committee at the Paso Robles School District I was on. That's who I was sitting by. We began chatting, and after about 10 minutes from my discussion with Ms. 14, Mr. Ty Lewis came in and came directly at me aggressively with a big grin, said, "Mr. Rivera, you didn't get the message. And what are you doing here?" or something to that effect. I said it was a public meeting in a public building and had every right to be there. He knew I was there on behalf of Ron Clough. After a couple of more verbal exchanges, he then came towards me, grabbed me by the shoulder. This shook me up. And as he was walking away, slapped me on the shoulder, slapped me very aggressively on the shoulder, and this shook me up, of course. As Mr. Lewis was walking away, looking at me, said, "I don't appreciate you spreading rumors about me not living in the city." I responded saying, "What on earth are you talking about?" He then said, "Your address is all over the internet," another obvious attempt to intimidate me. What did Mr. Lewis mean by those comments? We exchanged a few more words, at which time Mr. Lewis retreated and spent the rest of the meeting directly behind me where I was sitting. This was to ensure I knew he was right behind me close, and another attempt at intimidating me. After witnessing this whole thing, the witness looked at me and asked, "What was that all about?" I said, "He has a problem, obviously, with me being here." I then told the witness that my shoulder really hurt.
Mr. Hammond, we've exceeded the 3 minutes of public comment.
Let's summarize, Michael.
Okay, after a few minutes, obviously with me being there, I then told the witness that my shoulder really hurt. After a few minutes, the witness was asked by Mr. Lewis to go outside to speak to him. The witness returned a few minutes later and again sat next to me. I am a 70-year-old man and do not tolerate being abused by a much younger person like Mr. Lewis, or anyone for that matter. My shoulder still hurts, but my psychological condition after this is worse. It is outrageous that the city manager of our city, who is the former police chief, would lay hands on a citizen. This cannot be allowed to stand. This man broke his oath. He swore and allowed his obvious personal dislike of me to cloud his judgment, and he needs to be held accountable for the physical assault on me and his obviously attempt to intimidate me. The people of this city deserve better. I ran for mayor of this city in the last election, received thousands of votes. And again, the people of this city deserve better than thuggish behavior coming from City Hall, which casts a shadow on all the working people of this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Please.
My name is Linda Becker. Today marks the 1-month anniversary of the barbaric Hamas attack on innocent civilians. To provide a comprehensive understanding, I'm going to highlight some key historical facts about Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. The historical connection...
Ms. Becker, excuse me. This is something that is on our agenda this evening, so you'll need to wait.
This is just a history lesson. May I continue?
If we can keep it, within 3 minutes, let's go ahead.
Okay. The historical connection of the Jewish people to the land of Israel is well established. God promised the land of Israel to the Jewish people. There is no evidence of a Palestinian nation ever existing. References to Palestine in historical records actually refer to the ancient Jewish homeland. Hamas is a terrorist organization and was elected as the leadership of the Palestinians. They use violence and attacks against Israeli citizens, showing disregard for Western values and life itself. Israel has made numerous attempts for peace in Gaza, but Hamas continues to attack. They violate rules by using human shields, militarizing civilian areas, and storing munitions in schools, hospitals, and mosques. In contrast, the Israeli Defense Force does not target citizens and provides advance warnings before taking action. The Israeli Defense Force, in advance of destroying military targets so Gazans can evacuate, Israel drops leaflets, sends text messages, makes phone calls, encouraging civilians to leave military targets, giving 24 to 48-hour notice before taking action. However, Hamas orders Palestinians to remain in harm's way as an attempt to manipulate those with Western values and gain sympathy in media. Hamas's goal is to destroy Israel and kill Jewish people worldwide. Hamas is responsible for the deaths of civilians used as human shields. Palestinians need to be freed from Hamas. The cycle of hatred and violence, the brainwashing education of perpetual hate, and glorification of killing the Jewish people. This is a battle against barbarism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can clarify, so general public comment relates to items within the the city's jurisdiction that are not discussed on the agenda this evening. So if you want to speak to the issues in the Middle East, I'd ask you to wait and speak during the item that's on the agenda and allow public comment to be on items that are not currently on our agenda. We can't allow you to speak twice.
Okay. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Kitty Hoffman. Sharon Roden and I are business partners with short and long-term rentals located in the Paso Robles area. I was not at the last council meeting because of prior commitments when the rezoning of the area west of Vine Street, presently designated as R1 and R2, was discussed. I did, however, have an opportunity to listen to that October meeting. As I understand, the original discussion of changing this area from R1, R2 to a T3N zoning was to permit higher density, more ADU expansion. However, when the state mandated a change in R1 and R2 a few years back, allowing ADUs, a change in zoning then seemed unnecessary. So why now? Mr. Frey stated that there are many areas throughout the town where density could be increased. Let's remember the west side of Paso Robles is the older area of town, meaning it has older historical type homes with older sewers and water systems. I know our city has worked diligently to replace and update those systems, but why add more burden to those systems than necessary? Also, Vine Street is becoming a second freeway through our town. Adding more traffic to this area doesn't seem sensible. Mr. Gregory stated that a real benefit in changing this area to T3 zoning is keeping the neighborhood like it should be, that there would be more control and flexibility under the T3 zone than there would be under R1 and R2. This may be, but I think there is another aspect that was not mentioned and that could affect these neighborhoods. Whether this point is positive or negative, I'm not sure, but it's important to mention. There are 40 short-term rentals located in this proposed rezoning area, of which 36 are non-hosted. I also have vacation rentals, and they are presently located in the T3 zone. When we first applied for and received permits for these short-term rentals years ago, it was understood that if we sold these houses, that we could not sell the permit with the house. That changed a few years ago, and now we, along with the others who own short-term rentals in the T3 zone, can sell that permit along with the property. Just to be clear, it is only allowed in the T3 zone, not in the R1 and R2. So what difference does it make? We have a neighbor who just sold their home that was appraised at about $625,000, and they sold it for over $800,000 with a permit. Let's be clear that this was their investment and an opportunity for higher return. The question I ask is how this will affect the neighborhood. Will it be positive, or will it only invite more outside investors who have no or little contact with the neighbors, creating more pocket party areas? Again, this change in zoning may be a tremendous benefit to the community, but one other question needs to be asked and answered. Who owns these 36 vacation rentals? They will certainly benefit financially from this rezoning. I think it's important that we understand the full impact and that we have transparency in all issues before the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, John.
Hi.
My name is Elliot Cannon, 405 Fairview Lane. I'm a retired 747 captain. I've been involved in aviation since 1967. And my discussion and my comments today are about the airport, but more importantly, the Airport Commission. I've been going to the meetings for the Airport Commission, and prior to that, the Advisory Committee for about 15 years now. And I have a vested interest in the airport and how it's run and the future of the airport. I'm 77 years old, so my flying career is pretty much it reached its conclusion, but I still have a big interest in the airport. At every one of these meetings, for 15 years, I've been able to ask questions about what's going on to get some clarity and some transparency about what's going on at the airport. At a recent meeting, we were told no more questions, not allowed to ask questions by the Public Works Director. I'd never experienced that before, And one case in point would be I'm sure you all know that the airport is applying for a spaceport license. They want to launch satellites from the airport. So my first thought was, my God, we're going to have Atlas V rockets blasting off from the airport? No. So I asked about it. And it took about 30 seconds. I got a clear, concise answer about how they were going to launch these satellites. If we can do this, it'll be great for the city of Paso Robles and for the airport. But I can't ask questions anymore. I don't know whether that's a meeting protocol, but to me it's bureaucratic nonsense. I don't understand why we can't. And it's a great time to ask a question because everyone is there. All the commissioners are there. The airport manager is there. There's Mr. Gregory was there last time from the city council. And the questions that are asked by people, and look, I'm about the only airplane owner and pilot that shows up these meetings on a regular basis. There's myself and one other guy. So the questions we had to ask would not take up much time, and it'd be very quick. But if I can't ask questions, there's no reason for me to show up anymore. So thanks for your time.
We'll look into that, Elliot. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Daniel Baxter. I'm the pastor at Paso Robles Community Church. We're located on 2706 Spring Street, right next to the old bowling alley. We are a multicultural, multi-generational church, and it's our desire to bring light and life to our community, especially north of 24th there. Our congregation is from all over Paso, but we really find joy in meeting the needs of our community. Recently, we had the opportunity to host a trunk or treat, as many did in town, and we invited the Paso Robles police to come join us. So I'm here to highlight a great news. Great news is that Paso Robles Police Department showed up. They didn't just bring a car, but they sent Officer Alfana. He did a great job. He brought his family, and they decorated their trunk. We gave every one of the 200 plus attendees a ticket to deposit in the best trunk display. And Officer Alfana won by a landslide. So he did a great job. The community was grateful to have Paso Robles Police Department present. It was great for the community. It was great for our congregation. And so I'm here to say thank you to Officer Alfana. And I have an award for him and some ice cream for him and his family. So thank you to the Paso Robles Police Department.
It wasn't nothing to do with me. I was there. My wife was the one that decorated Hocus Pocus. Credit to her because she did all that. She provided decorations well beyond I would have expected. Again, I appreciate the credit, but it's all to my wife, Sarah. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
Good evening. Linda George, 3126 Spring Street. You guys have had some emails, but you have not all been privy to each one of them. I came here to bring some good news, some uh-oh news, and some what is going on news. First of all, I got HCD out today, and they are going to put our park on a maintenance program, which means the garbage, the cockroaches, and all the bad things they're going to fix, which means that our park will be very nice in the upcoming year. And I want to thank code enforcement for tagging all the cars. I think they're awesome. I think report of concern is awesome. Of course, Chief Harris and Fire Marshal Patty for coming out. And I think that our park is going to be a model down the road. Now, the main news is that my biggest concern about this town is franchisees and small businesses is what we're comprised of. And long story short, the NLRB has just put out a new rule that franchisees are joint employers with the corporation, which means the corporations can start now input on wages and things like that. So our franchisees and our independent contractors remain under attack.
And I promise the council I'll keep an eye on it. I fight it every day. The NLRB General Counsel is my enemy. And I work with Virginia Fox via Twitter, the head of the Chair Housing and Education Committee, as well as Kevin Kiley. Now, the sad news is when I received Mr. Rivera's alarming phone call yesterday, as you know, I've sent my own concerns about Mr. Lewis, his wages, his liability to this city. Mr. Lewis, I learned about you not living in Paso Robles by Nextdoor. I don't speak with Mr. Rivera that often. But if he was my father, you and I would be in jail. I think it's obnoxious that anybody thinks they own this city. I think it's obnoxious that a city manager would think that he's the head and owns everybody. I'm sorry, that for any reason, whether you like him or not. And I noticed the dirty look you gave him when he stood up for my interview. I didn't know he was going to support me. And I also know that the city clerk was also involved in some kind of shady stuff, and I'm questioning why she's still here in her seat. So my 3 seconds are up, and I'll leave it with that, because you guys have all the emails that we sent, and I say that Mr. Lewis is a liability to this city.
Thank you. Dale?
Dale Guston. I know that Councilman Strong goes out to the senior center often. Well, right now they're having an art contest for the young people, and I know he's seen that. So the rest of you go out into the senior center and look at those, the art competition that's going on at the senior center.
Okay, thank you, Dale. All right, moving on to item M, agenda items to be deferred. Mr. City Manager Ty Lewis, do we have anything to discuss?
Did we check for public comment online?
We have no callers online, sir.
Okay. No, sir, no items to be deferred.
Very good. Moving on to consent calendar. These are items that are not necessarily needed for full discussion. However, any of the council can pull a item to be discussed and or the public. So I'll give it up to the council. Anybody wishing to pull an item. These are going to be items 1 through 6 on consent. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? I'll bring it out to the public then. Anyone out there would like to pull anything for discussion on consent? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back then to council for discussion and or action then.
Mayor Hammond, I'd move that we approve items 1 through 6.
Second.
So Pro Tem Gregory with first, Strong for the second. Any discussion? City Clerk, will you call the question, please?
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Roden?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Well, we'll go ahead and have our city manager report out on what we just voted on.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. First item is approval of the October 17th City Council meeting minutes. Item number 2 is our regular recurring resolution 23018, approving remote and hybrid remote and in-person meetings citywide as needed pursuant to Assembly Bill 361. Item number 3, receipt of the warrant register. Item number 4, approval of a replacement of emergency services aerial ladder truck 8141. Item number 5 is approval of a final map for tract 3213 for recordation, Viñedo Planning Area 13, which is part of the Olson South Chandler Specific Plan. Item number 6 is approval of a subdivision improvement agreement between South Olson Chandler Specific Plan and the Viñedo Backbone Infrastructure Improvements.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moving on then to public hearings, we'll open up item 1 then. This is the approval development plan PD 22-20. And who will have that report for us?
So, Mr. Mayor, we're not actually going to make a staff report on this item this evening. We received some public comment just before the meeting that we need some time to review. So we'd like to open the hearing. If anybody would like to make public comment, they can. The item will be continued to a future date. If you speak this evening, you will not have the opportunity to speak next time that it's heard. But if you are here tonight and would like to speak, we are open for public comment on that. If there is no public comment, I would ask that the public hearing remain open and that we get a motion from the council to continue the item to a specific date of December 5.
Yes.
December 5, 2023.
Date certain, December 5, if we continue. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and open up then to the public. Anybody wishing to address this first? Go ahead.
Hey, Augustin, 630 13th Street, 40-page report. That's the most extensive one I've ever seen. And it's pretty thorough, but I have a little trouble with the fact that so many oak trees are being removed on that site. That's a lot of oak trees being removed. And when you look at the map, it's obvious that they're pinpointing the ones that facilitate the maximum density on that lot by the removal of those oak trees. I'm not an arborist, so I can't question the report, but I think we need to stop getting rid of so many of the oak trees in Paso Robles, please.
Very good. Anyone else from public on this item? Okay. Elizabeth, I'd kind of like to, if you wouldn't mind, somebody just give an overview of what the item is, because most public doesn't understand what we're talking about here. Warren?
Yeah, just real quickly, this is a application for a development permit, for a development plan, oak tree removal, and a tentative map. This is for a master planned industrial park at the corner of Ardmore Road next to the Daniels Woodland site. So that was heard by Planning Commission. They have recommended it to you for approval.
Okay. So we'll be hearing it coming back to us, you said December 5th?
Yeah, we'd like a motion to continue continue the item date certain to December 5th.
We'll bring it back then to council for discussion and or action. Councilman Gregor?
I'll move we continue this till December 5th.
Second.
So a motion by Pro Tem Gregory, second by Bausch to continue this item 1, PD 22-20 to a date certain to December 5th. That's the motion. Call for the question then, Melissa.
Discussion.
Discussions. Go ahead, Chris.
Had a quick chance to look at it's like 240 pages. Just want to reserve comment for when this comes back to the dais. There's some things seriously wrong with bringing that kind of a document at the last moment. I'll speak more to that later.
Yeah, and that's what really the postponement is, obviously, because staff has not had time to even look at this. It was given to the city at the last moment. So we're going to continue while they digest it. Okay? All right, call for the question. Thank you, Melissa.
Councilmember Gregory.
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch.
Aye.
Councilmember Roden.
Aye.
Councilmember Strong.
Aye.
Mayor Hammond.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we'll close the public hearing on item 1 and then move on to discussion items. Item 1 in discussion is approval of the master service agreement and advanced metering infrastructure and data management system. Kirk Gonzalez will have it. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you, Mayor. Kirk Gonzalez, City Utilities Engineering Manager. Pleased to be with you this evening. I'm a little bit out of breath. I just ran down from upstairs, so I apologize for that. But I am pleased to be here with you this evening to provide our staff recommendation that City Council authorize an agreement with Badger Meter for our AMI project. This is for the monthly meter readings, remote meter readings, a data management service, and related software and analytical tools that come with this product. Now, the city's move to advanced metering is to ensure that we receive consistent and timely meter readings. We've been preparing for this project for over a year now. We've already taken a lot of important steps towards implementation, and the recommended action this evening is really to establish the pricing for this service, as well as allow us to continue moving this project forward. The agreement itself is for a 15-year term, and it'll allow us to move forward with Badger and have them set up the system to work with our utilities billing system. That's a long lead time item, and so we want to get started on that early. So we're recommending that council authorize this agreement now to provide sufficient time before construction. We're planning to get these AMI devices installed middle of next year. So because the AMI project really differs quite a bit from our typical capital improvement projects, I want to take a quick moment just to summarize some of the project tasks. The first 4 on this list here that you see on screen are tasks that we've already completed, and mid-list there is where we are right now. But just to summarize the first 4 real quick, more than a year ago, we started evaluating available alternatives, looking into different products and solutions that were out there. We very quickly narrowed in on directly compatible solutions. They provided the most efficiency and cost effectiveness for us. And we moved on to reviewing those compatible solutions, receiving demonstrations, checking references, those sorts of activities. Then we moved into a pilot phase for what we identified as the preferred metering solution for our AMI project. We started that in late January of this year, so those pilot meters have been in for some time now and performing very well. Also gave us an opportunity to test drive, if you will, the data management and the software that we can use to analyze issues that are occurring with the meters. And it also gave us an opportunity to disperse these throughout the city and get an idea of how they perform in remote areas of our city. So in May of this year, we recommended to City Council that we go ahead and move forward with standardizing on the preferred product, which is the Badger Orion cellular service. And in May, City Council authorized that sole source procurement for that product, and now we're on to this master services agreement. So the remaining items I'll just touch on briefly. Following execution of a master services agreement, we'll be moving into integration with the utilities billing system. Again, that's a long lead time item. A second long lead time item that we need to get started on is materials procurement. We need to issue a purchase order for these products so that we can make sure they get in the queue for manufacturing and shipping in time for construction next year. That similarly is 6 to 8 months. And then we have some of the more typical items that you'd see for a capital improvement project. So professional services with a construction manager and inspector. We're going to do a pre-qualification for contractors for the installation, bidding, and then award of the contract later, or rather next year. So to give you an overview of our AMI project, again, for those who aren't as familiar as some of the city council members, maybe the primary purpose, again, is to make sure that we have continuity in our meter readings. It's essential for the city's water and wastewater funds that we have this information available. We don't have significant delays in getting this information. More than 80% of the water funds revenue comes from these meter readings, and a similar proportion for the wastewater fund comes from meter readings. So again, absolutely essential. We don't have unexpected delays and issues there. Now, unfortunately, our meter readings are currently being collected by a contract meter service. They have performed very well historically, but in recent years and post-pandemic, there's been a number of issues related to staffing and such, and we did see some pretty significant delays in receiving our meter readings. So additionally, after meeting with them to try and work towards resolving those issues, they also signaled to us that there's some uncertainty as to how long they're going to be providing that service. So that's really prompted us in the utilities department to start evaluating alternative solutions. Let's see here. So beyond that advantage of ensuring those timely meter readings, there's a handful of other benefits that I've summarized on this slide here. I think one of the big benefits for our customers is that allow them to better understand their water usage, to be able to detect leaks and get ahead of them or be more responsive to them. Could save them a lot on bills, and it could also save us a lot of water in terms of conservation. Depending on the products that are selected or the AMI technology you're using, some feature backflow detection and tampering detection, and the product that we've standardized on does provide those features. So good benefits there in terms of managing the water system. Also, the information that we collect will give us a better understanding of how demands peak throughout our system, and that helps us when we're going into infrastructure planning for improvements and those sorts of things. And finally, one of the major benefits is this sort of agreement and this technology allows us to stabilize the pricing and have more predictable pricing over time, as opposed to being subject to labor rates and what have you. These AMI products, we know what we're getting into, and again, this is a 15-year agreement with pricing defined in that agreement. Also, a standardized level of service, which is defined in the agreement. So to get there, that'll involve retrofitting a very large number of meters that we have in the system. We've got more than 10,900 meters. And to put it really simply, this directly compatible solution that we've standardized on will allow us to only remove the register portion of the meter. So that's the dial portion that you see on the left, as opposed to having to remove a whole meter. This allows us to really, or our installing contractor, save a lot of time, and they'll save the city a lot of expense. So they've removed that dial portion and installed the AMI encoding register and a cellular radio unit, which you also see on the right-hand side there, as well as an AMI compatible meter box lid. Meter box lids represented here on the right. And this gives you a preview. This is one of our pilot meter locations where you could see the hardware installed within the box and the radio mounted to the lid there. So to better understand the work involved in deploying these meters, get a feel for the performance in the field, and give us an opportunity to test the software, we conducted the pilot I mentioned earlier. We piloted 40 meter locations throughout the city, performed very well. We were able to detect leaks, alert customers, have them be more responsive to those issues. And again, we had an opportunity to look at the software and see the data that was available there to make sure it was a good fit for us. And based on those positive outcomes, we recommended standardization on this technology. And this allowed us to really continue to prepare for implementing the project and move into these longer lead time items I'd mentioned. First, the integrating of the data management system with our utilities billing software, and also the materials procurement preparation for construction. So on this slide here, I've prepared a timeline that gives you an idea of where we are in the project now and the relative durations of each of these big tasks. City Council approval items are shown there with the dots. And so we're here November 7th for approval of the AMI agreement. We'll go into billing integration next, and very soon after, we'll be looking for City Council's approval to procure materials for the project so that they're ready for construction mid-next year. And we are planning, again, starting construction mid-next year. We're anticipating about 8 months for completion. In terms of budget, along the way, we've continued to monitor our budget and kind of refine the cost estimates for the project. They're summarized here on this slide, categorized in kind of major task groups. And you can see that the city furnished materials, the AMI equipment, and the lids themselves are a big part of the project. And then we have construction and CM, a little less than 25% is what we're projecting. There's quite a bit of uncertainty there. The basis for these estimates for construction were other agencies' projects, and we won't know with certainty until we get our bids back for construction. Now on to the master services agreement, or back onto the master services agreement here. Again, this establishes the long-term pricing, and that pricing includes the cellular fees that we'll be paying for these units, all the remote readings that will be provided, the software service, customer service, all those sorts of things. And it also includes the customer portals. So customers will be able to get online and log in, see their consumption data and stuff that they choose. So that's all included in the pricing. And I do want to mention, and I think it's important to point out, that the pricing defined in the agreement starts at 88 cents per meter per read each month. And that's actually quite a bit less than we're currently paying for our manual readings. Currently, we're paying $1.20 per meter per month. So even at the end of this 15-year agreement period, our meter reading costs will still be considerably less than they are right now. So that's a good advantage. Although we have that high upfront cost and investment in the project, we're anticipating that after 20 years, we will have achieved some modest savings by implementing this project. Let's see. And again, a big part of this is allowing us to continue and move forward with the next steps to prepare for construction. I think that concludes everything I wanted to present for you guys this evening, so I'm available for questions. And Kathy Richards with Badger is also here, so if there's technical questions that I'm unable to answer, I might ask Kathy to chime in.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. Questions for Kirk? Start off on this side.
Thank you. Quick question for clarity and understanding. So a meter box is actually a piece of artificial intelligence for automated reading and billing, correct?
The AMI system, I think you said meter box, but the AMI meter is, I wouldn't say artificial intelligence, but it basically monitors the consumption of water or the movement of water through the meter, and then reports that out to the data management system.
And how many human jobs will it replace?
Well, that's a good question. The meter reading service that comes in, basically the way they do it is they come in with, I understand it's only about 5 staff members, and other staff may have more information, but I think it's about 5 staff members for 5 days each month. So it's not a whole lot of people, and unfortunately it's very infrequent. We just collect the meter readings once per month. So they're deployed, I think, again, 5 people for 5 days in the city of Paso Robles, and then they'll move on to another agency.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman.
We had a meeting on this, and I think for those who don't work in the water world, this is basically basic stuff now. And the real advantage of this is immediate readings, and you brought it up that if there are leaks, and you can monitor your own, from what I understand with this. So, no, I think it's appropriate.
Thank you, Sharon. Anyone, Councilman Gregory, go ahead.
Yeah, Kirk, thank you for your report. I like it when you answer all the questions I had ready to go, so I have to ask one. So when you did your sample, you did a sample on, and of your sample, what was your percentage of leaks?
I want to say, well, we've detected a number of them. We had a pretty high percentage. So out of those 40, I want to say we detected 6 separate locations, so fairly high. Now, leaks can be, there's different sizes, different severity.
Yeah. So is this a tool that you can use as our staff to help us fix a lot of our leaks?
Yes. Actually, one of the leaks that we detected was at one of our own facilities, and so we were able to respond to that pretty quickly and get fixed. And yes, I mean, I think overall it will help the community conserve water. It'll help us, or the system really notifies customers automatically if they choose to enroll in that. And it will, other agencies have achieved water conservation ranging up to 10% in some cases.
And then my other question is kind of a technical one, but will the automated reading help improve the efficiency of the billing process?
Yes, I think it will. I don't think directly, but in that, the customers, right now we spend quite a bit of time, or our staff spend quite a bit of time reaching out to customers when meter readings come in and they observe that there's abnormally high water usage. Our utilities billing staff reach out to them directly to notify them of the issues. So that'll save some of that time. Those customers that enroll to get those notifications, that will be helpful. And also I've heard that some agencies require customers that go in for a leak adjustment to be eligible for that leak adjustment, require them to enroll in that online portal and subscribe to, getting these leaks. So that way they, it kind of forces people to be a little bit more involved and understanding of what's going on with water use at their properties. I think that can save a lot of time, but I do think that up front, there's also going to be a lot of staff time helping customers and answering questions and all that.
Good. Well, thank you.
Councilman Bausch.
Thank you. Thanks for the good report. Learn something every time I see it. So a quick sidebar. I had the opportunity to install some additional irrigation. Thought that was a great thing. It was in my house, just small stuff. I observed over the fence that there was a pretty good sized puddle in my neighbor's yard. I said, I have to go over and look at that puddle and try to figure out, she's older, single lady, and it's just kind of look out for her. And nothing was on at her house. And I'm thinking, boy, if I only had Kirk's fancy little reader, I could tell where the leak was. I didn't have it. Lo and behold, after about an hour, I figured out, oh gosh darn it, that's my leak, and it's migrating to her house. So I was wishing I had the AMI device. That being said, a couple things. Since the last time we saw this, have been noticing that there are different size covers. So obviously there will be a way to figure out who has what size cover. I'm assuming that's a no-brainer. The other thing that I believe the device protrudes above the surface or the deck of the cover. And what happens when those covers are in the middle of somebody's driveway?
Okay, yes, you're correct. We did have a survey done to get an estimate of the different box sizes and lids that would be required. But for your second question or comment there, we looked at lids that had the radio device protruding a little bit, and we decided against going with that. Or our preference is not to go that direction. So when we come to council for authorization to procure materials, the lids will be included, and we'll be recommending, or I anticipate we'll be recommending the box that you, or rather the lid that you see on the screen now. This is a flush mounted below the box solution. So
excellent.
Shouldn't be as much of an issue.
Excellent, thank you. And then as far as how we got to the point that we're here today, there's been some concern that we may not have been as robust in our examination of all the different options. I think the presentation that I remember sitting through, you looked at several different designs and different possible vendors, and depending on this combination or that combination, this seemed to be the most cost effective. How would you answer that this might not be the most cost effective? Would you argue that?
Yeah, I think that this is a competitive and cost-effective solution for us. We did look at alternatives, both in terms of how the technology works, as well as different manufacturers of those directly compatible technologies. So yes, I am confident that this is a cost-effective solution for the city.
Very good. Thanks again.
Kirk, my question is, I'm really happy to be at this point in time because we've talked about this ever since I've been on council. And I have a property actually in a snow country that, they've been out for many, many years where, they can't physically read the meter at this other location because of the snow. But my question again on this is, with Badger, is it proprietary? In other words, if for some reason Badger is no longer, does this equipment work with other companies, or is it universal, or is it proprietary? That's what I'm kind of wondering myself.
Well, I might ask Kathy to chime in on that, but my understanding is that it is specific to Badger. And I will share that I do have confidence that Badger is going to be around for the long haul. They're, an industry leader in terms of conventional water meters, as well as this AMI type solution that we're looking at here. So Kathy, if you have additional comments
you don't mind,
you'd like to share.
Come on up to the dais so we can hear you. Your name?
Kathy Richards with Badger Meter. I've been working with Badger for 34 years now, and they've been around since 1905, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Badger State, and they are a very long-term reliable product. But more than that, the radios themselves do have compatibility with other brands of meters, so there's some interchangeability there. And the other nice feature about this system, and I think it's a sign of where we're at with technology, is the fact that the radios, the data itself is all hosted in the cloud and you own the data. So if for some reason Badger decided tomorrow, and they're publicly traded, so I always encourage people to look at their strength online and see what a good company they are. But if they were gone tomorrow, your data wouldn't disappear. You own it, it's yours, and fully can be integrated into third-party packages as well. We do a lot of cross-compatibility, which is a good point we're at with technology in today's market.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Is there any maintenance, ongoing maintenance? In other words, is there a battery or does it pull its energy from the moving water? How does it work, really?
The bottom of that square radio transmitter does have a battery. It is completely sealed and submersible because those pit environments can get filled with water, and we need to make sure it's sealed. There's a full 10-year warranty and 10 years prorated, so should the battery fail, it's going to be replaced in its entirety. There's no field maintenance involved. It'll just be an unplug, plug in the new one, and send it in for warranty.
So for the hard costs, I saw 2.5 million and roughly 11,000 meters that we have in our city. On average, that's about $230 a unit.
And that's for the register and the radio combination.
Mm-hmm.
Where the city is definitely saving a great deal of money is the fact that we're not changing out all of the meter housings. We're doing what we call a retrofit by just adapting the existing equipment that's in the meter box.
Oh, so we're not actually changing the physical meter
That's
itself?
correct. So no disruption to the water service. There will be some out there that are older and that the city has decided are ready for change out.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are new and in good shape, and we're just going to be retrofitting them by changing the register and the radio and not disrupting the service to the customer during that change out.
The majority obviously being 3/4 and 1-inch meters,
Correct.
but there are some big ones out here too, and that this is still going to work on that kind of a
Correct.
system.
Across the board, all sizes.
Ah, great. Okay, good. I'm glad, again, to say that we're at this point in time, finally.
Yeah, thank you.
So, okay, that's all the questions. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public would like to address the item? Yeah, go ahead, Randall.
Board members, Mayor Hammond, Randall Jordan, 902 21st Street. I actually live out in the county, out in Hog Canyon, but this reminds me of the smart meters, electrical smart meters that were being pushed 5-10 years ago. And a lot of things came out about those smart meters. I am a little bit dubious about technology taking over every aspect of our life. If someone doesn't pay their bill, okay, if someone isn't looked fondly by the city, or they do something, let's say that they get a DUI, and down the road a DUI means that you have your water turned off, you're going to have that ability by radio waves to turn that meter off. And that's a little bit scary for the public when the government basically is taking responsibility for every aspect. Now they control the electric meters, and now we're talking about the water meters in town. I'm a builder, and they're doing it in the county also. We're having to put meters on people's wells, private wells. So it's a little bit, I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. It's a little bit scary here again, AI, let's be honest, artificial intelligence is taking over a large part of our public life. Thank you.
Thank you, Randall. I think to clarify, Kirk, I don't believe that we can remotely turn these valves off. It's still going to be the twisting of a handle to turn water off to a particular meter, isn't it?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
the product we're looking at does not support remote turnoffs.
Right. And so what I'll give you a little example is I had a leak just before I left here for my vacation, and it was like a $600 water bill, which is supposed to be usually 60, 10 times that. But it took a month for staff to tell me that we had a problem. With this system, it can be done. If it spikes quickly, you can see something happen immediately. That's what I really like to see, where we can, a lot of our infrastructure is getting old. Out there, it's 40 years old and then cracked pipe over time. But same way here on the west side, we've got a lot of leaks I know that are happening right now that we just can't detect. So I think I'm glad that we got to this point where we can start saving a little more water and saving people's water bills too. So, Kirk, do you have any other things to add then?
I'd just add, just for context, there's not a whole lot different in terms of what's currently happening. and what we're moving towards, with the exception that these AMI devices are collecting that information much more frequently and reporting that out several times per day. So again, it really supports being more proactive and responsive to issues. It's still just collection of data, and there's no, turn-offs or artificial intelligence intervention at this point.
Very good. Okay. Bring it back to council. Any discussion then and or action?
Ready to go.
Pro Tem Gregory.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 23XXX authorizing agreement with Badger Meter Company and the Beacon for the Beacon AMI data management software service, and authorizing the city manager and city attorney to make minor changes to the agreement if needed, fully consistent with the overall council direction.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilwoman Roden, first by Gregory. Any discussion on the item? Melissa, then go ahead and call the question.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Roden?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2 then, fiscal year 2023-24 quarterly budget report and amendments. Ryan Cornell.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Hammond and City Council. Ryan Cornell, Administrative Services Director. Here tonight to give a little check-in on the financial situation for the city. As you're aware, the City Council approved a budget in June of this year for the 23-24 fiscal year. We're kind of 4 months into the fiscal year, so we're kind of at a check-in point. I'm also working on last year's fiscal audit, so we do have 22-23 not audited numbers, but pretty much final. So I'll kind of jump right into there first. So on the revenue for the general fund, we had estimated revenues for 22-23 to be at 53.3 million. Actual revenues came in at 54.5 million. So right on the mark, about 2.3% over what we were expecting to receive. You can see kind of the breakdown of the larger items there. Unfortunately, hotel tax, the transient occupancy tax didn't break 10 million. We're kind of hopeful for that for this year, but the way kind of things are looking, we'll talk about the future here in a second, but overall, what we're kind of saying is what we projected the revenues to be last year are actually coming in right on par. Because of that, each of the labor contracts that were approved last December looks at revenues and revenue triggers. And so part of City Council action tonight is to actually approve the new updated master pay schedules in that, because the general fund revenues exceeded estimates by $1 million. All labor groups get the maximum negotiated salary increase. On the expenditure side, this is a very similar messaging here too. So these are all individual departments on the going down the rows of the budget, about 40.9 million. Actual expenditures coming in at about 37 million. So we're about 90% of appropriations, right on the mark on there too. Granted, I do want to put a caveat that part of that $3.8 million variance will be carried over, not all of it, but a portion of that will be carried over to the next fiscal year because some funds weren't spent in the prior year. So this portion, the departments held the budgets tight, but when we get kind of to the bottom end of the expenditures, we went a little over budget on a couple areas, and there's actually reasons for that. So the very first line here, capital projects at 14 million. We really didn't spend $14 million in capital projects. What this is showing the general funds portions of the CIP program, and we move all of those funds in the year they're appropriated. So if there is an unspent project, it's that fund balance is shown in the capital improvement fund, not in the general fund. What that allows us to do is show a more accurate depiction of what general fund reserves are, because you can't have reserves just because of unspent projects. So we transfer everything that we budget out into the capital improvement fund. Very similarly with the debt service fund, that actually had to do with the refunding of refunding. There was another bond. This is actually the last payment, so this one's fully diffused. Our return of service funds, those are our information technology, those are fleet and risk management. Those are kind of operating transfers, so we're right on the mark there. Same with solid waste and recycling. But the two line items that went over budget are the facility replacement and the impact affordable housing. The facility replacement fund is a subsection of the general fund. So those dollars just move from one fund to another. And what The intention of that is when we purchased the Second Wind Way property, 4301 Second Wind Way, we actually used facility replacement funds to purchase that property. And so as lease revenues are coming into the general fund, it was intended that those get replenished the replacement fund. We missed it for 2 years. We found it, so we caught it up to, we transferred over 2.2 million into the replacement fund. When I get to a couple of slides, you'll kind of see where those dollars moved. The impact fees, affordable housing, those are related to the two more recent housing authority projects and the deferred fees there, both the Riverwalk and the Sunrise Terrace. The best accounting for these types of fee deferral transaction is actually to make the impact fees whole. So the general fund paid the traffic impact fee, the police, public safety, because all those impacts are still going to incur. But now the general fund holds the whole receivable. So as those repayments come back to the city, the general funds will be receiving those from the housing authority. So again, it's more of a loan. We show it as an expense because it's governmental accounting. So we'll show it as a revenue coming in when those repayments come back in. Yes,
so just if I could ask on the impact fees for the affordable housing, those are not gifts. Those are still marked as a receivable. And those will come back as those projects are occupied.
Correct. And this is a governmental accounting piece of it because it's such a long-term repayment loan. We can't consider that current resources, so we can't recognize it as revenue now. We can only recognize the payments as they come in as revenue.
Thank you.
Okay. So when you kind of show revenues over expenditures, we had planned and we knew we were going to draw down reserves, almost about $8.3 million, what we were planning. We were closer to $7 million. So our ending fund balance as of June 30th, 2023 was at $20.6 million. It represents roughly about 40% of revenues. If you recall, last year we were hovering around 50%. But we took that intentional withdrawal to fund some of these capital projects. And so we're still at a healthy 38% revenues or reserves as a percent of revenues. But I do want to kind of emphasize what's it like moving forward. And I'm not really going to dive too much into the future forecast quite yet. I think I'm going to reserve that to the mid-year update, or we're right around the budget corner. So we'll be talking about future revenues for the most part. But I have a couple of future slides here, and you kind of see left to right is the history of this is just sales tax, but over the last 3 years and we're projecting this year is really kind of flattening of revenues. In my personal opinion, I still think we're running a little too hot, but all the indicators show that we're going to kind of have this little soft flatness for a couple of years and then kind of project upwards. So there's no indications of recessions quite yet. The unemployment rates still remain low. The consumer is still spending money. We both had an economic forecast meeting last Friday, and then a Visit SoCal one on tourism a couple of weeks prior to, and they're very similar stories where, yeah, we're seeing a slowdown, we're seeing a kind of a leveling off, but we're not seeing the indications of actually it recessing. So that's good. So real quick, that's hotel tax. It's very similar. Saw a huge growth coming out of the pandemic, but we are kind of seeing this little flattening out. So we kind of do expect that for this year is kind of a flattening of revenue, so not the double-digit growth we saw year over year. That being said, like I said, we still might recess, and so if what's the worst case scenario, and then we take a look at our reserves, and all of our reserve balances are quite healthy. Like I said, the general fund's at 20.6 million, about 38%. All of our enterprise funds, water, wastewater, and our port have solid reserve balances. The measure J20, it shows a large number. That's actually, most of that's encumbered with the projects, Fire Station 3 and some of the road projects. So even though this is a snapshot in time, that money is earmarked for something else. But good, healthy reserves, you see at the bottom, from the third from the bottom, the facility replacement. That's where that $2 million money got transferred to. So we're showing the reserves there. And then excellent reserves in both our IT, risk, and fleet internal service funds. With that being said, looking forward, we do have requested budget amendments, some cleanup items. The first one has to do with the acting battalion chief program. The Fire and Emergency Services currently employs an acting program Very simply put, whenever there's a staffing shortage, rather a personnel be assigned out of county or calls in sick or whatever it may be, rather than calling in another captain like off duty in overtime, what we can do, or what we have been doing, is having an engineer act up and get a premium, a 5% premium, but act up in that missing role. We don't have that program for the battalion chiefs. So whenever a battalion chief either calls in sick or is unavailable, we have to call in one of the other two battalion chiefs to cover that shift at overtime rate. And so what the council action is to expand that to battalion chief, so that if a battalion chief is absent, a captain can act up into that spot at a 5% premium versus calling it a battalion chief at a time and a half. So this is actually a cost-saving mechanism. It also helps enhance the training and the leadership of succession planning for the group. The second request is related to a water distribution chief operator. We've had a vacant lead maintenance specialist position in the water division. It has been vacant for 2 to 3 years now, so it's been a very difficult challenge to fill that particular position. We were kind of getting market surveys and kind of figuring out what was off, and we felt that what the actual work wasn't depictive of what the actual job description was. And so we're updating the job description to be more indicative of what the work is that we need. It is heavier construction related work. They will be kind of being the lead field supervisor. And so with that being said, it's just a reclass of MS3 to a new water distribution chief operator position. And again, this is in hopes to help with the recruitment of that position. It is critical, and I do think Aaron Morgan is kind of tired of doing double duty.
How many, real quick, do we have in water department? I know we were down critical low there.
So as far as, I don't know what the total number is. I think it's around 14 maintenance folks. I think we're only missing 2.
2 now?
And the MS3 has been the one that's been vacant for quite some time. And then the last request is adding an airport maintenance specialist position. Typically requests like this come at the budget process, but this one's a little bit different. The airport fund is a standalone enterprise, and so it's separate and apart from the general fund. In addition to that, we did do an overall business model and assessment of the airport. There's a whole staffing section of that report. The maintenance specialist is kind of the low-hanging fruit on that report, not the full list of all the positions being recommended, but having that maintenance specialist position will actually allow for the division to have 7-day-a-week coverage at the airport. Currently, right now, they're only Monday through Friday on call if something really goes sideways, but the idea is one maintenance specialist will work a Tuesday through Saturday shift, the other one will work the opposite, so that you get the Saturday and Sunday coverage.
So that'll be a total, real quick, of 3 personnel then out at the airport after this goes in?
Yeah, that would be 1 airport manager and 2 maintenance.
2 maintenance, right.
Specialists.
Yep.
Quick question, the slide before this, what is Section 115 trust?
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I skipped right over that. The city, back in 2016 or 17, established a Section 115 trust. What that does is it's a investment mechanism, so we could put money set aside for future pension expenses. And so when CalPERS kept changing their assumptions and our annual contribution kept going kind of uncontrollably increases over year, this is kind of a mechanism to kind of help soften those increases.
Thank you.
We get control of our money so we can manage it better than CalPERS was. That was the reason for it.
And it's restricted. It can only be used for pension costs.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I had a question. Did you contribute money for this year?
I'm sorry?
Did we contribute money for this year in the 115 trust?
If we didn't do it this year, we did it last year for sure. But I don't think so. I think it was last year.
That's a really good trust. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Is that not a continuous year-to-year contribution?
No.
It's not.
No, it's not. So
what is the basis for it? Contribution.
CalPERS, right, when they do their actual reports, they determine, okay, a percentage of payroll, city, you have to pay this, and here's a flat dollar for all the past stuff. So that's our minimum required payments that we send up to PERS every year. On top of that, when the city has had additional discretionary money, we've been setting one-time funds set aside to the 115 trust. We don't really have a good policy in place on when to use them, but typically it's during the budget update, we know that the PERS didn't hit their target rate of return this year. So we know our contributions are going to be going up in 2 years. And so we're kind of eyeing that, okay, we'll keep our contributions the same now, use the rest of this 115 to kind of supplement.
That's a whole discussion, Sharon, that you probably ought to hear with staff. Yeah, that's a big deal here.
Monday.
Yeah, Ty can bring you up to speed on that one.
I'll add that to my list on our 101. I think that's coming up.
Councilman Strong had a question real quick.
Yeah, I wanted to know if Mr. Price deserves a medal or not, because how come his department is so far under budget?
He has a couple large development projects that he's working on, like Mill Road, for example. We put quite a bit of dollars towards that process, and so that will be carried over to the next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
I talked about the airport. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And then for additional budget requests, two of them were kind of a mistake in the budget update. I forgot to add the dollars for Matt Thompson, our recycled water manager. The position was added in the authorized position listing, but the dollars didn't make its way into the budget. So that's a cleanup item. We have some sewer line upgrades at Capitol Hill that we're going to appropriate now. That's on Vetus's list to repave as well. So we want to get the sewer lines ahead of that. Another little oversight has to do with our recreation services classes. The contract payments for our recreation classes are about 75% of the revenues it receives. And so when we estimate revenues at $200,000, we really should have a $175,000 expenditure, but only $100,000 made it over there. So that's another cleanup item there. And then lastly, we have the New Year's Eve event that we're asking for appropriations for. I think Frida will dive in more detail at a future date on what that event pertains to. But that's pretty much the update that I have for City Council tonight. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but the recommendation's up here on your screen.
Okay, Councilman Gregory?
Yeah, so Ryan, I just wanted to see, it's a trending question more than anything else, but if you go back to the slide on our staffing levels, and it looks like we're...
I don't have staffing levels.
Oh, well, anyway, it looked like we're below our full staffing levels in several departments. And my question was, is it getting closer to full employment, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, it is getting closer, and we're making huge progress on our recruitments. The 22-23 fiscal year, we added like 20% to our staffing, so it's just taking some time to get them on board. So we kind of anticipated some salary savings in this first year, but we're working on getting those people on board.
The budget number was like 3.9 million. And unpaid staff or not having enough staff. So I was just a question, see if it's trending up. I know the police department for sure it was our
yeah, and that's the other thing too. I should mention in these numbers and these figures, when I say the general fund, it does not include Measure J20. Measure J20 is a separate fund that's going straight for police and fire. So really, police and fire expenditures were more than what I just reported.
Very good. Thank you for your report.
Any questions? Councilman Bausch, any questions?
Just a quick comment. In the attachments, there are several master pay schedule. Can you just explain for the benefit of the public how that works?
Sure. CalPERS requires master pay schedules to be posted on the city website, and it's supposed to be kind of an all-encompassing pay schedule of every single position in the city. So whenever there's an employee group that gets an updated increase, that master pay schedule is supposed to happen too. So same with the city manager. So we have 3 different schedules in there because in August, the city manager got his annual increase there. So we didn't actually update the master pay schedule that time. So we're doing it now. The one today includes the recommended changes for the water distribution operator. And the one in the future pertains to the economic triggers that were met with meeting the revenue goals for this year. So one is back in August, backdated to August. One is today for those 2 new positions, and one's in the future for the future expected increases.
That will take place in January.
Yeah, that will take place in January 7th, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No more questions from council. I'll open up then to public. Anybody from the public like to ask a question on this item? Please come forward. Dale, welcome.
Dale Guston, 630 13th Street. In the last report, there was a breakout on the parking fund separate. I didn't see it in this report. I'd like to see an amendment done for the next meeting and show the figures on the parking fund, please.
Anyone else? Okay. Go ahead and close it. Ryan, you want to address that? I think we got that coming on our next
It is. It's going to be part of the parking discussion. But in actuality, in the mid-year report, I do plan on providing a more comprehensive, of more citywide funds, including the airport fund as well.
My question back, what is our maintenance airport worker going to run roughly for that amount? I'm just curious. Total laid in, I mean.
Total all in, including the standby pay. We're actually going to include a standby component where even when they're off shift, we'll put them on call per se. So if there's any emergency that needs to be happening,
they respond.
They can respond to that and not put all that burden on Mark, which is kind of what he's doing now. We're looking at about 120,000 out the door. And the maintenance workers is one of the lower positions in the city.
Right. Okay. Very good. Okay. Any other to bring back to council discussion and or action?
I'll make a move.
Councilman Gregory.
First of all, Ryan, I want to thank you for your service. It's so nice to be able to understand the budget on a regular basis with your presentations and your clarity. So thank you for that. I'd like to move that we approve Resolution 23XXX, amending the authorized position listing, the revised master pay schedule, and budget amendments as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Pro Tem Gregory and second by Councilman Bausch. Any discussion on the item?
Councilman
Strong.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, sorry. Strong. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Roden?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you. All right, item 3, City Council Resolution condemning attacks by Hamas against Israel. City Manager Tylos, you have the report?
Yeah, just a quick one, Mr. Mayor. As council requested at our last meeting, and I apologize, there was a typo in the staff report that listed the wrong date. It was, I think I had October 2nd. Should have been October 17th for the last meeting. Councilman Bausch requested consideration of a resolution condemning attacks by Hamas against Israel. Based upon that request and by council to bring that back for discussion item, staff has included not only the staff report, but a resolution for council's discussion and consideration of adoption. With that, I would turn it back over to the council for your discussion.
Okay, any other discussion and questions to Ty first? Councilman Strong.
Yes, thank you. I'm pleased to see the way this was done, because originally I thought maybe it was going to be urging us to be involved in some specific way, and that would be inappropriate for us at this level, because our Constitution, which we've sworn fealty to and adherence to, reserves foreign policy to the federal government. So locally, we have to stay out of the foreign policy aspect. That doesn't mean that we can't take a stand, as we're doing here, against violence of any kind against any people. And I don't think anybody's going to object to opposing violence. I don't know. I know very few people who advocate for killing people, but that's why I'm supporting this.
Okay. That was to be questions. Anybody then further on this one before we return to the public?
Not so much question, just an observation. I think it's important to note that while this is a resolution condemning attacks by Hamas against Israel, those attacks also go towards the people of Palestine. There are a lot of victims in this conflict. And I think we just need to make that differentiation that this is against the terrorist organization, Hamas, and not the people of Palestine.
Any deadly aggression is should be condemned. So.
One other comment there, and that is specifically part of the United States position federally. So we're merely approving of, or making a comment in accordance with what is happening at the federal level, which is their prerogative.
So I would just like to thank staff very much for taking the time. Elizabeth, thank you for looking at this and keeping us on track. I appreciate all the work that went into this.
Okay, we'll turn it out to public then. Dale?
Yeah, Dale Gustin, 630. Will you, if you pass this, will you post a copy of that resolution on your website? Because it's not in the packet.
Wasn't posted? Yeah, it is posted. Okay. We'll get you something. All right, thank you, Dale. Welcome.
My name is Frank Triggs, and I came to speak on something else this evening. This is the second time in 20 years I've come before this council to say something. Then I saw this on the agenda, and I had to speak out. As I look at it and what I'm hearing, and appreciate the fact that the foreign policy is left to the federal government, it's sort of like this is not in our wheelhouse. On October the 7th, something happened that is in all of our wheelhouses. I am not an Israeli. I am not a Jew. I've been to Israel 7 times. I am a Christian minister ordained for 60 years. I pastored churches from San Diego to Crescent City. My last church that I pastored was in San Luis Obispo. My home is Paso Robles. My heart was torn asunder as I heard the reports coming in. This is a matter of humanity, and we have rightly condemned our own history when we've mistreated indigenous people. The Jews are the indigenous people of the Levant, Israel, Palestine. There's no such country as Palestine. That was a Roman name for a conquered area. And I think that it behooves us to speak out against this crime against humanity. And if it's not in our wheelhouse, don't worry, Hamas or someone like Hamas will be coming for us soon. They hate us just as bad, and then it'll be in our wheelhouse. Thank you. I hope that we can make a clear statement that this kind of action should be condemned when it happens to any people.
Thank you, Pastor. Welcome.
My name is Gary Lehrer, retired IT consultant from Templeton. Within 1 hour of hearing about the attack on October 7th, I sent out 16,000 emails or so asking for people to be involved and asking our public leaders to be involved in a resolution against Hamas, a hugely genocidal terrorist organization. And what was my thinking behind that? And I'll tell you, because I was furious when the Board of Supervisors tried to single out Templeton and 3 irrelevant people on a bridge. So why can't we, as a county, it should be a no-brainer to condemn Hamas. I mean, if they could make a resolution against hate, if they had not done that, I don't think I would have done what I did. But I thought the Board of Supervisors set a precedent here that they're going to make a resolution against hate. Well, this is the worst hate that I've seen against Jews in my entire lifetime. And this is not just about Jews. This is about the Palestinians. Far more Palestinians are dying right now. And why is that? Because Hamas uses its own people as human shields. You know, I'm crying for both sides. Nobody deserves this. Jews or Palestinians. This is the Jewish homeland. We have all the archaeological and historical data to substantiate that claim. The Palestinians are offspring of the Arabs who, by force, took Israel. It's their country. They gave up Gaza voluntarily to try and maintain peace. Now, you have people, I know that people on both sides have lost relatives. I talked to a rabbi who lost 2 cousins, and I spoke to I spoke to somebody, or I hear that somebody lost maybe about 17 of their Palestinian relatives. This is not a Jewish versus Palestinian issue as much as this is a humanitarian thing, and I think this is a great way. Hamas has a tremendous propaganda network, and they spread, rumors about the terrorist rocket landing on a hospital. Well, they intentionally put their terror infrastructure under schools and hospitals and whatever. But we all know that that rocket was fired from Gaza because we've got the evidence, we've got the tape. So, I'm asking for this because I think that Hamas is a propaganda organization. We have people in this county who are sympathetic to them, and we just need to educate people. This is a terrorist, genocidal organization, and if we're going to make proclamations against people and organizations, let's make them against people who are really threats and have really killed people. And, I want to express my gratitude for being able to talk in front of this group of people. I know when I come here, I'm confident that you guys really hear and listen attentively, and whether you rule in my favor, I know that you will do what you feel is best for this city, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I'll close public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and or action.
Well, I'll add one more item. And I did not mention Hamas specifically, but that too is consistent with the United States policy, as well as it is humanitarian. Hamas is a recognized terrorist organization that, as a national government, we have vowed to destroy. And there's nothing wrong with supporting any resolution calling for the destruction of Hamas.
Okay. Councilman Gregory?
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Anybody further on discussion?
Would you like to
I'll make
Okay.
Hang on, Sharon, do you have any discussion? Okay.
No.
Motion to approve resolution 23XXX, approving, condemning the atrocities of the terrorist organization known as Hamas against the people of Gaza Strip, against Israel. To stand with all the victims of the ongoing violence, especially Palestinians and citizens.
Second.
Especially over that.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Bausch and second by Councilman Gregory.
We need also a correction. Time.
You want to make that motion?
Just to modify staff. Correct. Attacks.
Oh, no S?
Attacks. On attachment.
There's just a typo in the draft that was printed on in the packet that the city clerk will fix when she finalizes the resolution for signature.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, we'll go ahead and call for the question.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Roden?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I will make a comment too. Less than 24 hours ago, I just returned from that region. It's something else. Although everyone was saying, don't go, don't go. It was one of those things where we had it planned for over a year. And I got to tell you, where we were in Jordan and also Egypt was not really affected. You saw no evidence of any war or anything going on there. But on the other hand, again, from my knowledge and what I've been researching, again, it's Hamas that has the problem here and not so much the Palestinian people. There are obviously some Palestinian people that are siding with the Hamas, but essentially that they've got to change their leadership at this point to start changing it. But again, this whole region's been fighting for thousands and thousands of years. And I don't know if it's ever going to stop, but this kind of action certainly needs to be condemned, and that's what we did tonight. So
thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
And we're glad that you and Marjorie and all of your entourage made it back safely.
Made it back. Yeah.
And just as an aside, if you are a religious person, it goes back to Abraham.
Yeah.
They're all related.
Yep.
If you go back genetically, we're all related, period.
Somewhere or another.
Somewhere. So we hope that those things can be resolved. We all hope that.
Thank
for
you,
that
Sharon.
area and everywhere else.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call for a 5-minute break, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes. Then. All right. We'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order then. Sharon, you want to head back up?
I'm in trouble again.
That's all right. Moving on, we have item 4, City Council resolution declaring business within the city of Paso Robles as essential and clarifying the masking as a matter of personal preference within the city of Paso Robles. Ty, do you have that report then?
Yeah, again, Mr. Mayor, this is another council item that Mr. Bausch requested at our last meeting be brought back for consideration regarding mask mandates, as well as declaring businesses within the city as essential. We've drafted an example of a resolution for consideration, and with that, I'll turn it over to the council members for discussion.
Okay, then questions of staff. Who wants to lead off? Anybody? No questions at this point. So we'll go ahead and open it up then to public comment on the item. Anybody wishing to make a statement? Randall? He's got to get turned on. There he goes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me speak. We all remember the lockdown. We all remember, I remember calling Debbie Arnold the day that the essential business mandate came out. And I had all my employees around me and they said, "Are we working today? Are we working ever again?" And I said, "Let me make a phone call." So I called Debbie Arnold, and she was the highest person, elected candidate, elected person that I knew. And I said, "Debbie, is my business essential?" And she says, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I build homes." And she said, "You build homes for people, for affordable homes, right?" And I said, "Yes, you're essential. So you need to keep working." We don't need to have these questions. This is not something that a business in Paso Robles needs to be afraid of. And they need to know that their city council stands behind them, and that they will, to the best of their ability, keep their businesses open. Our son has a coffee house and a jazz club in town. It's doing real well. And we're all happy that the robust business is back to Paso Robles. And higher up people may decide there may be an outbreak somewhere, and all of a sudden it'll turn into a major problem for local businesses. Also, the mask mandate, that is something that a person needs to be able to make their own choice about. And I was accosted several times by masked Nazis who felt that I shouldn't have the right to make that decision myself. And here again, I think that this is a good thing for the city to support their people, support their businesses, and support their citizens, and say, we're behind you, and we will do everything we can to keep the businesses open and your personal rights, your rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Rand. Welcome, sir.
Again, Frank Triggs, and I live on Wedgwood here in Paso Robles. And I want to thank you for considering the fact that we should not be doing government overreach to determine which businesses are essential and which are not. We need to keep our economy going. It was a disaster when the COVID rules came down and ruined so many businesses, and some of them never recovered. And so I do believe that it is certainly within your governmental reach to say that all of our businesses are essential. And if it's your business and it dies and you can't pay your rent or pay for your house, it certainly has become essential to you. Also, I appreciate the fact that you're considering that this resolution would simply say that it's the choice of the individual whether to wear a mask. And I'm saying that if we have another issue, then let those who are sick wear the mask. Those of us who are well breathe fresh air and be healthy.
Thank you.
By the way, I'll be 84 years old in a few months, so I'm at high risk.
Thank you.
For a lot of things, Mr. Triggs.
Well, good evening, folks. John Whitworth, 30 years, United States Marine Corps. I flew helicopters in Vietnam. I love this country. And watching you folks here tonight, I want to thank you for your concern. And we all, I believe, in this room want the same thing, which is what's best for our country. And I turned 80 today, so yeah. So I'm here representing we the people. Folks, we saluted the flag tonight, and we said at the very end, liberty and justice for all. Not liberty and justice for few. And so I'm here also to say there's no such thing as a non-essential business. This was I don't want to use the word conspiracy, but there was favoritism towards many businesses, and those people that lost their businesses for really no reason is wrong, and we shouldn't let that happen again. Wearing a mask or being required to take a vaccine violates our inalienable constitutional rights. And if you're a healthy, strong person and you elect not to do that, the government should not have the right to say you must take a vaccine, which, by the way, as we all know, how about this? Anybody ever heard of myocarditis, sudden death syndrome? It's not a conspiracy to be able to speak up against what could be something that hurts you more than helps you. You know that how many new billionaires, hundreds of billionaires, have come on board since Big Pharma pushed this on we the people? So I'm asking you and hoping that you will again honor that we keep all of our businesses open, because that's the lifeblood. You know, the small business is the lifeblood of this country. And if we kill it, we kill ourselves. And the other last thing I'd like to say is we are here, I think everybody in this room, I'm here representing not me, but our children and our grandchildren who we owe them to give them the best and help them realize the best future we can. I salute you. This is a Marine Corps salute. Arr! Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Uh-oh, it's me again.
That's all right.
Well, you know, I got a degree in political science from UC Berkeley, so, you know, blame it on Cal that I am so involved in such an activist, but, you know, this is what I trained to do. My feeling about what's going on, I think we actually need to outdo what the Public Health Department of San Luis Obispo County is doing. I believe they're encumbered by ideology and political considerations. We can, and I think we'll do much better by making our own resolution, encouraging citizens to take common sense precautions like exercise, vitamin D, get fresh air, get some sunshine, and just wear masks to prevent harming high-risk patients. And as former CDC Director Rachel Walensky herself said, 3/4 of those who died of COVID had 4 or more compromising factors. We need to declare all businesses essential and make this a sanctuary city for people opposed to vax and mask mandates. There are plenty of studies and documentation to back up alternatives to masking and vaxes, and we are the ones who are actually following the science. Doctors should have early treatment protocols and access to human-scale doses of ivermectin and also to hydroxy. The most important thing to do is let people be free to do what they want for practical reasons, as caregivers are leaving the area due to mandates. Also because individual liberty is the foundation of our country. As a result of our freedom, we are the wealthiest, most scientifically advanced country with the highest standard of living. Liberty and equality is what got us here and will continue to be the best prescription for dealing with any medical, societal, and economic issue. Please please consider a resolution that says no to vax and mask mandates, make specific recommendations for doctors and members of the public, and saying yes to letting people make their own choices and see how things work out. Then we get more data and we know what's effective. For myself and my family, we chose natural immunity. We all did great. I got, a mild case of Omicron. We had two members of my family. One, my son, almost died as a result of getting the vax. And my wife was really never the same. She wakes up every morning congested. She was never like that. She was healthy as the horses that we ride. Again, I thank you for being so attentive, and I thank you for being involved with these issues. It's extremely important. The quality of life in Paso Robles, to a large degree, depends upon your efforts. And I may reside in Templeton, but I love Paso too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I'll bring it back then to council for discussion and or action. Then who'd like to start? Chris?
Fred.
Councilman Strong.
Yeah, once again, I want to thank all you youngsters for bringing up everything, because actually when we went into the COVID protocol originally, suicide rates among seniors skyrocketed. And it's because of the isolation. Isolation is an illness. It creates illness. And so even the masking sometimes creates an isolation of a type. And we should all be free to make those decisions. I fully agree with what was said. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilman Boucher.
So again, I want to say thank you to staff and to legal counsel Elizabeth Hull for helping draft a resolution that makes good practical sense for Paso Robles. Obviously, we're not at liberty to pass something that goes against the law, but I think we need to make a stand for all the businesses that did fail during the previous lockdown. I'm not sure we'll ever see another lockdown. I'm not sure that COVID is quite as virulent as it once was. I'm not sure if it does come back, any of us are going to follow the mandate. I'm not sure where it comes from. I think most of us are bright enough that we'll make decisions ourselves. We'll make a personal decision whether or not we shut down our business, whether or not we wear a mask. I think we look at the examples coming out of Finland and other places that had no lockdown. They protected the weak instead of isolating everyone. They protected their most vulnerable. I think that's a lesson learned that whoever decides, if there is a lockdown in the future, that we lock down the right portion of society. We don't lock down everything. Since they couldn't make that decision correctly the last time, let's declare all businesses essential and not have any businesses closed. If a business needs to close, they'll know how to do it. They'll know when to do it. They'll know why to do it. I don't think they need government to tell them to do so. So again, I thank you very much for entertaining this resolution. I think Paso Robles is the community where this really makes good sense. Thank you.
I have a comment too, but Councilor Berger,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this. We're absolutely, our small businesses are our essential way of making a living, and it is America, and it's what we're all about. But I want to go back a little bit during COVID, and what helped our family survive in our business was the people of Paso Robles. Everybody came out to support us when we were shut down, when people couldn't come and eat in our restaurant. And that's what it's about. And then having our police chief at the time not arrest us for whatever I wasn't doing right. But it's about the essential living here, why we're here. It's the whole wholesome spirit of life here. And it's our community. And our community is strong. And our community protects us. I protect other business people, and I like business people in the community to protect us and work with us. And That's what this is all about. It's about being essential. We're all essential. And I support this, and I'm proud of being a Paso Robles, the way everybody treated us and the way we treated everybody else in that process. That is Paso Robles, and that is being essential. So thank you all for that did that. So.
Yeah, I'll make a comment too. Again, one of my first calls when I heard about it and with Randall Jordan is that our construction outfit relies on being out there and working, you know, in front of everybody. And so I called Prashant, Councilman or Supervisor Prashant, and I told him we are essential. I don't care what anybody says, we're going to do it anyway. And, you know, to me in the beginning, I think it was more of a, 10% health care, 90% control, that the government wanted to, saw an opportunity to tell people what to do and how to do it, and control is more what I was seeing. I also remember in one of our council meetings, I said, to the restaurateurs and the downtown merchants, I said, you fail, we fail. So do what you got to do to stay alive through this, situation. And I had one of the restaurant people come up and almost say, if it wasn't for everybody in this room, I'd kiss you because of what you said. It was really, I think, a good statement back in the day that we saw for really what it was. It was common sense, that we need to keep our folks going. But also, on the other hand, with the fact that we have a heavy-handed Sacramento sometimes, they were looking for cities like this. And, we did it right. We did it well. And we kept everybody safe. And I really appreciate the way that, we handled it through those years. And now that this is coming around again, I am concerned that, they'll try it again. So with this statement and this opportunity to make a comment, with how Paso Robles is going to move forward with something like this in the future, I think it's very important. And thank you for bringing this forward, Councilman Bausch. Very well done. Anybody would like to make a motion there?
I would just like to, Councilman Gregory reminded me of something about the not being arrested when some of us defied the order. That's very important. The phone calls that I've got the last couple of weeks, or just running into people, people are afraid that may happen. They're afraid that their business licenses will be revoked. And I hope this will send some reassurance that we're going to do everything we can to keep all businesses open as essential businesses. So thank you. So I will move that we approve. I lost my place here. I apologize. Resolution XXX there we go. Declaring all businesses within the city of Paso Robles as essential business, and to clarify that masking is a matter of personal preference within the city of Paso Robles.
Second by Gregory.
Okay, motion by Bausch, second by Pro Tem Gregory. Any discussion on the item? Let's we'll call for the question then.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Roden?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
Mayor Hammond?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on then. Finally, we have our city manager report. Ty Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, one of our community members thought I was looking at a magazine during the city council meeting, but I wanted to point out that we have some of these available. Super excited. Staff, all the departments came together to put together City of Paso Robles' first annual report, a year in review, going over all of our accomplishments for this last budget cycle. And it's broken down. It's a very comprehensive report, probably a little bigger than you might see it in the future. But our first endeavor, we wanted to make sure it was packed full of useful information for everybody. So it's an opportunity for the community to be able to take a look by department and get hopefully some helpful facts and figures and information about what we do as a city. There's some budget information there. There's some productivity information in there, performance indicators. And so, I'm super proud as the city manager of this community, super proud of our staff and council that all made this happen. Everything from our 4th of July event to our New Year's celebrations to the award-winning projects and accounting, the great job our emergency services crews do, everybody top to bottom to keep this community safe, to bring a high quality of life. I think it's all highlighted in here, and we're going to release a media release tomorrow announcing it. There'll be copies online. If somebody wants to come in and get one of these glossy versions of it, we're happy to share it, and then hopefully it'll spark some good community conversation as we move forward. So I'm super excited for everybody to see that. The second thing that I have is super exciting as well for me and for our community, I think, of the city organization. And so I'm going to read this. Mr. Hewitt wrote this for me because he knew I was pressed for time today, but it's not to diminish the accolade that I'm about ready to give. So it says, I'm pleased to announce that City Clerk Melissa Boyer has been awarded the designation of Certified Municipal Clerk by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. To earn the designation, a municipal clerk must attend extensive education programs and require significant applicable experience in a municipality. The designation is the culmination of many hours of classes and real-world experience. Melissa has attained since her appointment to the clerk position. A big congratulations to Melissa. A job well done.
Congratulations,
and that concludes my report.
Thank you,
You
Ty.
want to say something?
Can I say something?
Sure.
Thank you, Ty, for recognizing that, and thank you to the council and to the city for allowing me the privilege of attending the training to be able to accomplish that goal. I very much appreciate it.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks for doing
Thank you,
it.
Melissa.
Thank
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
can, just as part of the city manager's report, I guess, I just wanted to let the council know I will be out of town. I think most of you know my son lives in Japan, so I'm going to be visiting him. So I will be missing our next meeting, so Isaac Rosen will be here.
Isaac,
Yep.
yeah.
You get Isaac. It's here.
All right, okay, we'll take Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac will be here. Thank you.
Take care of family. You bet. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to council business and committee reports. Who would like to start? Sharon?
Well, while you were out of town, I got to play a little bit.
Yeah, you did.
Councilman Bausch kept following me around, though.
All right, somebody had to keep her on track. It's tough.
There's reasons why he got locked in the back of the police car. So we both attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. So this is all new and interesting for me, so that was a lot of fun. I've had one-on-ones trying to get me educated here. I met with Ty and Warren Frace Monday, and I'll have other meetings continually. But I think one of the most fun situations I had was representing Paso Robles for the PVCC, the Groundwater Sustainability
Paso
Plan.
Basin Committee.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
That. Because you were out of town, I got to go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how I can send you on vacation more often. Because I enjoyed that. It's all feels like a slow process. But I look back and it's only been a month. So I have gained a lot of knowledge in a short period of time. But I look forward to every day working with his staff. They're just absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, Mr. Gregory may have to follow me around some if Mr. Bausch is not available.
I'm getting worn out, so it might be a good idea.
Anyway, that's basically it. And then, of course, this we have upcoming Parks and Rec and a few other committee meetings that we'll be going to. So, but I'm really enjoying this process.
Good to have you on board, Sharon. Thank you for the report. Councilman Strong.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Ty for getting his house completed totally and gloriously up there at the country club. And I'm so sorry it took so long and you couldn't live in that house in the first 6 months or so that you owned it because it was being renovated and brought up to standards. But congratulations, you did a great job. And then I'd like to say that I have been very busy. I was up in Idaho. Well, actually, no, pardon me. Yeah, that was Idaho. And it was a very interesting meeting because this was the National Association of Regional Councils, all the regional governments of the United States, and I represent all of the cities of the United States as their representative on that board of directors. And we were able to, again, bring up some of the support that I got here in California from the assistant director of Caltrans for our bridge over the highway and beginning of Caltrans support. So looks like that's moving along well. And we brought it up again at the national meeting. But I also, unfortunately, am going to be out of town a little more than I intended to because our executive director announced her retirement at that meeting. And she's gone as of February, which leaves us all of a sudden in a quandary because so quickly we have to find a new executive director nationally, which is difficult for any organization right now. And because of some experience I've had in executive search and owning employment agencies, they made me a member of that committee. So it's me and the executive committee who are searching for a new executive director nationally. And I will be in Washington, D.C. a bit in January. Other than that, I will be going down over to Atlanta, Georgia next Tuesday, where I'll be representing us at the National League of Cities, where I sit on that Transportation Infrastructure Policy Committee as the rail co-chair. And we'll be moving ahead with that. As soon as I get back, I will be at a rail board meeting before I come to our city council meeting the next night. So I will see you back with all that information as soon as I get back. But other than that, that's pretty much what I was able to cover. And I thank Councilman Bausch for covering me on things that I couldn't be here when I was there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Councilman Gregory.
Sure. Don't forget to say thank you to Councilman Gregory, too. Since I did cover you at one of your...
He covered me, too.
Started out right before John left, I attended the ad hoc community meeting for ECHO and for the community meeting over there. And that's gotten very, very positive and quiet. And the communities, we're gaining a lot of support in the community. And a lot of the people from ECHO are actually doing cleanup on a weekly basis and circulating nicely. Then I had a meeting about the homeless strategic plan with staff and Ty, and we talked about that as it's developing very nicely. I attended the city council meeting, but I didn't know where John was, so I had to take over. And, it was a good meeting, nothing too crazy. John,
You did good.
I'll catch you up on it. And then later that week, I went to LAFCO, and LAFCO had a very interesting process discussing water, and it was a little bit of a confusing, right? And someday I'll get the truth out of Christopher Leckel telling me what really happened to that meeting. But they're basically saying that, and it's really important for us to understand this, is that 200 property owners are controlling a majority of the water for 6,000 people. And that doesn't seem right to me. And we had several questions about it, but nothing happened. But it was discussed heavily. Then I attended the mayor's meeting and got to meet all the mayors and pretend to be John for a day. And they feed him a lot of food while he's out there, by the way. And I got the pleasure of meeting Ricardo Santana Velasquez, who's our local consul for Mexico. And actually, he had a program up here. Was that at Oak Park? And so I didn't get to see him on that one, but I think Maria's on that. I also did the airport commission. The airport commission, I think we have a little misunderstanding about answering questions. And so I think we need to spend some more time with some of our folks out there. There's a lot going on at the airport right now. And so between the FBO and all the people building all these large, huge
projects.
It's crazy out there. So it's a little busy, but I think more time with people like Elliot would be good to help him feel better. The airport is coming along nicely, though. It is tremendously changed. I can remember my first day on the city council. My goal was to get the airport fully versed in all the infrastructure, sewer and water, and fixed Dry Creek Road. It is done, thanks to the community and the great council we work with. And so the airport is staged and ready, and I think really ready for spaceport and other projects. Then, in the interest of supporting our homeless funding for ECHO, I met with Don Ortiz-Lake for a few minutes in her office.
Supervisor.
And then the next morning, they actually did fund their project for 20 beds for ECHO at a tune of $800,000. It was really nice to see the county chip in and increase their capacity 25% with just one vote. And it was really a nice gift. And I personally thanked all the supervisors that I was down there. Then I went to RTA, and I don't know about RTA. It's a little too big of an organization for me. But one thing I have a hard time understanding is we have a ridership that's down 40%, and we're buying 11 buses. I don't understand that. And sometime, Fred, will talk
Federal
about
requirement.
I understand that, but to spend money when you don't need to spend money, that rubs me the wrong way. But it was an interesting experience talking to them and seeing what they're spending money on. The biggest problem is the buses are too heavy for our roads. That is a real problem. And all of the 11 buses they're talking about buying, they're too heavy. So you guys need to get, maybe is there a way to change the mandate or whatever to get lighter buses that don't weigh so much or smaller or whatever. But we got some work to do there. Then I got to meet with Travel Paso, as I'm on the board now, taking over for Steve in that position, and had a very nice, candid conversation. And they make a really nice Paso Robles baseball cap, by the way. So I highly recommend you get them. And then I had the pleasure of sitting with Senator Laird and his helper, and had a very nice conversation. Christopher was star of the show, actually talking about something we talked about earlier today. But he's a very enterprising senator, and he's been helping Paso Robles a lot. And he reminded me at that meeting that I told him about the 46th Street Bridge when I met him 8 years ago at lunch. So he said, okay, well, we were ahead of our time. Then went to the economic forecast, which was incredible. I did see Miss Roden laughing her head off the whole time. I'm not sure if she got any statistics, but one of the things I wanted to say about that, and Warren was there too, which gratified me, is that as a city, the city of Paso Robles is kind of doing everything right according to our economists up there. We're building a lot of apartments. We have a very affordable housing. And his comment every year has been build houses. And this year it was build multiple family houses for the first time. He goes, we need them badly. And so we're doing that here. And economically, we're doing a lot of really good things as a community. And I only have our community and our staff to thank for that. You guys are doing great, and you're keeping us on track. And then the last meeting I attended was yesterday and we talked about the strategic plan for homelessness that started out at the chamber, and it's formalizing really nicely. There's 35 people in the community. It's a really good panel, and I like the plan much better than the county plan. It's a little simpler, and it's something we're going to need to have if we're going to continue to get funding for homelessness in our community. And with that, I just want to say Paso Robles is a great place to live. Thank you.
All right. Well, I can certainly attest to that. I really personally want to thank everybody on the council and all the staff that helped with my absence, being gone for 3 years. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's jet lag. It's just jet lag. I understand completely. Don't.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's
All right,
fine.
I'll be quick so you can.
Sure, go ahead.
Get you home. Wanted to thank City Manager Ty Lewis for his inaugural coffee with the City Manager. That was a really good event. Lots of good ideas, and still getting comments back from that, and maybe some future topics. Attended the chamber meeting with Sharon. Just the takeaway for me, their nominations are open for Citizen of the Year and Business of the Year. So if you have someone deserving of that, please put some thought into that and get your recommendation in. Youth Commission, I can't begin to tell you how impressed I am with our youth commissioners. They've got some great events. They're kind of doing this divide and conquer technique, and they'll look for some great events to come forth and keep our youth engaged. And thank you to staff for helping them do a good job with that. Attended the groundwater sustainability meeting. I think Sharon might have a point, John. I think maybe she was awesome up on this dais. She gave them a run for their money. She asked some really tough questions. I think she did a great job. So thank you for stepping in for John. That was good. Attended the Central Coast Economic Forecast. And just to echo Councilmember Gregory's point, I think we have so many wonderful things planned in Paso Robles, throughout the county for that matter, but especially here in Paso. Paso is doing everything incredibly well. We have capacity. We have plans to fix the things that are not quite right, such as our roads. Those are being addressed. The number one obstacle to our future success, to keep us from becoming I'm saying just a retirement community, we need jobs. To have jobs, we have to have affordable rental housing. It's going to be a stepping stone to create that bridge to the American dream of home ownership. Times are changing. We're not sure if it's going to be a given that everybody gets to buy a home. Meantime, we have to have more affordable rental housing. We're just going to have to get used to that. We're going to have to figure out how to make that happen. We're doing a great job in Paso Robles, but there's pieces of land that we should be looking at. There are areas within the county that we need to be looking at. So more on that to come, but that was my big takeaway. Last but not least, Main Street Board meeting. We got Elegant Evening coming up this Saturday, 5 to 8 downtown. It's a free event, so please be sure to dress up, go on down. Lots and lots of merchants signed up for it this year. And we have the Holiday Light Parade on Saturday, December 2nd. At 6 o'clock, so please be sure to mark your calendars for that. That's my report.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, thank you for your opinion, too, as being a professional realtor about the housing issue. I think this is really a critical part of our future and
yes,
getting people to be able to stay here. Our kids are not going to be able to afford it if they can't.
Or move businesses here. We're going to be one of the last spots in California, especially if we keep passing mask resolutions and essential business resolutions. Businesses are going to want to come here, but when I talk to them, they can't afford to pay their workers that much. We have to figure out a good solution for that.
Head of household jobs.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you. Sorry for stepping on you there, too. I just, like I said, it's been 3 weeks, 24 hours ago, I was sitting in Ramses the Fifth tomb in the Valley of the Kings. It's amazing what we can do these days and travel halfway around the world and come back to a meeting like this. And thank you all for helping me out. This 3 weeks is a long time to be gone, but it was a plan, that's been in the works for over a year. And sure as heck, they start shooting, just a week before we get ready to roll. We had 30 actually from Paso Robles that were going to go, and 10 elected not to. But I'm glad that we did. And truly, Jordan, we went to Jordan and Egypt, and you really couldn't tell that anything was happening in where we were, Amman, any of those. Matter of fact, I called Jimmy Panetta just before we left. He says, yeah, I just returned. Matter of fact, walking off the airplane right now from Amman, Jordan, and he says it's fine. There's no issues there right now. So that gave me the edge to maybe go ahead and continue. But, this is so old over there. Everything, we're talking 3,500 years old. The pyramids and Petra, all these different things that have been there forever. And it was like a bucket list for me to get it done along with everybody else. So I really appreciate you allowing me to back out and do that and get it taken care of. So thank you for your help and support. Upcoming events, we have Library Trustee of November 9th at 9 o'clock. City facilities are going to be closed on observance of Veterans Day holiday, November 10th, this Friday. Elegant holiday event downtown, which Chris just talked about, November 11th from 5 o'clock, Saturday. Paso Robles Senior Citizens Advisory Committee meeting November 13th, 1:30. Paso Robles Development Review Committee, DRC, November 13th, 3:30. The Paso Robles Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee regular meeting November 13th at 4 o'clock. Then we have the Paso Robles Planning Commission meeting here in this room again next week, November 14th, 6:30. The Supplemental Sales Tax Oversight Committee meeting November 15th on Wednesday of that week at 5:30 here in this room. Paso Robles Development Review Committee again November 20 at 3:30. And then our next council meeting is going to be November 21st here at 6:30. And what I would like to do also is adjourn this meeting in honor of all of our veterans. I think that's really important that we're not going to be able to do that until today's the last day before we actually do it on Friday. So I'd like to make a motion on that. And with anything else, I'd like to discuss.
Second on the motion.
So we have a second from Councilman Strong to adjourn in the honor of all of our veterans in the United States. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We're done.
Are you taking?